we're both getting gain. I'm getting gain. Are you getting gain?
What does gain mean? Oh, did the little yellow things come up?
Yes.
Cool.
Check, check, check. Check yours again for me.
Check, check, check.
Yeah.
Checkity, check, check, McCheck.
Okay. Oh, I do need to call you this in because the screen will turn off.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about that.
Preston, you come up here. Come on. Come here. You have to like lay down and get comfy though. You have to be a little less awkward. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we have a moment before we start?
Yeah?
Okay. I'm feeling bitter and resentful, and I know that those feelings tell me that I need to do a better job of communicating my needs.
Okay.
I love doing this with you,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's hard to be up late and eating late and drinking more than I probably would normally drink. And so I'm happy to do this, and I want to do this, and I'm making myself check in next time before I agree to do this.
Okay. That's fair.
Can you get his eyelash off
Mm-hmm.
his face? Oh. Oh my goodness.
Get it? Did you get it?
I think so.
Well, I can't see it, so I'm just trusting you. Well, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's completely fair.
We gotta figure out how to optimize that.
Yeah, because it is
My
almost 10.
turned on hours are in the morning and yours are in the evening.
Yeah.
Are you just up here because you think you can go get some? Now when you make your weird licking mouth noises, it's gonna be on the microphone. Crazy boy. You lay down? There's no laying down. Can you lay down? Come here. Good boy. Good boy.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's consistent with the last ones.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
It is indeed. Okay. How should we go about this first?
Crunch.
Oh, I do want to turn those kitchen lights off, though.
Okay.
Now it looks like we're in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if we were starting this at like 8,
Yeah.
that would feel a bit better.
Yeah.
Just make sure to drink plenty of water with that.
I'm feeling hydrated today for the first time in a while. That's so good. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Running, maybe? Running, maybe?
You want to talk about running?
Your tone of voice leads me to believe you're not excited to talk about running.
I'm not excited to talk about running.
Why not talk about running? It was rule number 1. Not forced.
Nice. I don't know. Let's just eat crackers and hang out for a second.
Okay.
See what happens. Nobody's watching. Oh, okay.
I think goat cheese is good.
We could we could also at some point live stream these sessions. That'd be cool.
Respond to people's shitty comments in real time.
No. I think the trick is just not acknowledge the shittiness. Just leave them. Leave them be. Don't. The saying, don't feed the trolls. And they're just to stir shit up. That is good goat cheese. I like that. So, when you end up making me some Cajun food, what are you gonna make?
I haven't decided yet. I feel the most comfortable with jambalaya. That doesn't mean I should go with the jambalaya.
Okay.
How familiar are you with these things?
Not at all. I don't really even know what jambalaya is.
Okay.
I know it's like a soup.
Not really. People get jambalaya and gumbo confused. And they're very different.
Is gumbo a soup?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Jambalaya is rice. I do it with andouille sausage or sometimes chicken thighs. Lots of seasoning. Gumbo is similar but like in soup form, and you make a roux, which is this like brown soupy stuff with flour, and then you pour it over rice. And you can do this with like any protein. You can do shrimp, you can do chicken, you can do sausage,
Yeah.
seafood,
Yeah.
put on
Gator.
okra, put it all in there.
Yeah.
So,
We could do it with deer.
you could. I want to double check this, but I'm pretty sure gumbo comes from more of a Cajun background, and jambalaya is more Creole.
Oh, okay.
And Creole is Spanish, and Cajun is French, from the French Acadians that fled from Canada and came down. So that's why the food culture in Louisiana is so rich, because it has both the Spanish and the French influence in it.
Okay.
So those are two big ones.
The goat cheese with the sausage.
Really? Is that the move? I'm going to do that next. Crawfish etouffee. That would be hard because getting good crawfish here. It'd have to be something like my parents would have to bring it up.
What kind of crawfish?
Not like what you could find in the streams here.
Are they somehow
But
different?
Yeah, it's a different species.
Okay.
And they're bigger and better.
Okay.
In Louisiana, so they're authentic. I can't tell if it's the orange. If there's like a tiny bit of like that like licorice.
No, we got the honey one, didn't we?
No, you picked it. Remember? Because I picked this one.
I picked the soft one.
Was it honey?
And so I can't remember.
Oh.
I thought we got the honey, but maybe we got the orange. We're definitely getting orange from the drink.
That's for sure. Yeah. So crawfish etouffee, which is another similar like jambalaya-y thing, soupy thing. Yeah. Muffulettas.
I've never heard that word.
A muffaletta sandwich. This is the only time I'll eat olives. It's an olive tamponade that you make and put, and then like corned beef and like all these sorts of different meats on this big, huge bun. Amazing.
That sounds good.
I feel like that's not. I mean, yes, that's like very New Orleans, but if you're thinking like Cajun food, muffaletta, not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. Just having a good old crawfish boil. I mean, that's... Kevin makes this really amazing, like, shrimpy, Alfredo-y dish. It's super incredible. He thinks that's how my mom fell in love with him.
Is it?
One of the many reasons, but yes. Because she's a terrible cook. And for one of their first dates, he's like, let me come over and cook you dinner. And she just, like, swooned. Like, oh, thank God. Because she'd been a single mom, me and Alex, for a couple of years at this point. And was like, you're telling me I don't have to cook? Amazing.
Well, my mom's not a very good cook either. So here's to that. Is there something that your mom cooks well?
Nope. Ham and rice. And, like, the packets of rice you put in the microwave. And the ham that comes, like, pre-cooked that you just warm up.
Yeah.
Her baking is out of this world, though.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that. Mm-hmm. You kind of like to bake, don't you?
I do. I haven't in a while. But she's bringing me a pie crust. You just confirmed.
Oh, that's true. Mm-hmm. My mind totally heard podcast, but I know that you said pie crust.
Mm-hmm. Do you need more sausage?
I think we could chop these, but it would require a knife.
They're a little thick.
2 C's.
Alright, I'm going crazy. I'm gonna mix the cheeses.
Oh, no.
Billmore has a really good charcuterie board at the bistro. We should go sometime.
Can you still stay in the hotel?
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing we didn't do.
I did it.
Oh, did you go?
Cause I tried to send your money back and you sent it back to me.
And so you still went?
Yeah.
Did you?
I'm like, well, why the fuck not? I was hemming and hawing and like, should I do it? Should I not do it?
Yeah.
It was a mix of like strong, empowered, like self-care, do something nice for yourself. This is healing. This is cathartic. I was like 50%. The other 50% was just like crying, drinking wine, just like sad.
Mm.
The best part of it though, I woke up super early and went down to the gardens and used my employee badge that they'd let me in before anybody else went in. And walked around when all of the azaleas were blooming. And I was literally the only person in the gardens.
Oh, really?
And then I was also crying, but just because it was so beautiful. Like, had this super, just, like, magical, connective nature moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, oh my God. Walking around on bum hip, just like, everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Yeah. Yeah, we could do that again. Take 2. None of that is shared to make you feel bad.
No, I didn't feel bad.
Good.
I don't feel bad. I'm trying to decide if I want to say more about that time period or just move on. So, how many kids you want to have?
2.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to subject a kid to being an only child.
No offense, but they miss out on things.
Yeah. Oh, none taken. I mean, I experienced it. That we do. Absolutely.
If I had any control over it, a boy and a girl, but that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
We might just get it all in one go, and they're twins.
No. Does that make you nervous at all?
Very.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How so?
That it would be harder in all the ways.
Physically, pregnancy.
And parenting. I mean, raising. Okay, first carrying 2 kids, and I'm not a large human.
Oh, I don't mean the twins thing.
Oh.
It's kids in general.
Oh.
Thinking of yourself, of intentionally pointing yourself in that direction.
Nervous isn't the right word.
Okay.
Something nervous adjacent.
Sure.
And like, I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
But knowing you're gonna fuck it up, no matter how great of a parent you are, like your kid is still gonna have shit to go to therapy about.
I don't know if that has to be true. I don't think that has to be true. At all.
Okay.
I feel like that's sort of starting off on. That to me feels like starting off with like a scarcity mindset.
Okay. I see that. To me, it just feels like humility. Of like, I know I'm not going to be perfect at it.
Sure. For sure.
And I want to act like I'm some perfectly healed person that's not going to affect my child in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wanting to do it well is scary. The actual act of being pregnant is scary to me. Just because it was awful when I have experienced it. It's nerve-wracking, like, what if you get a kid with special needs? What if you get a kid that has some physical deformity, you know, like, all that. Money-wise, the world possibly just fucking collapsing. Like, what kind of world would we be bringing children into? And then all the stuff that we've already talked about, just loss of freedom, but I feel like I've come to terms with that, of being able to live your life for something bigger than yourself. Yeah, I mean, yeah, not nervous, but something. You can't really know until you do it, I think, in a lot of ways. I think that's kind of the point. Like, moving from maiden to mother, sure, you're going to take some of the things that you've learned, but the point is that it's new and different and poses new challenges and is the next stage in the quest. Like, that's the whole thing. It's not supposed to be what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's supposed to make you grow. You said you listened to that fatherhood podcast? The one part where he was kind of joking around, like, about having kids increasing your executive function, and he was like, that's all we need to do is tell all the productivity bros, like, it's a productivity hack to have kids, you know?
There was a lot of stuff that I learned that I'd never heard before from that podcast, too.
Yeah.
Just about how testosterone drops and how men have hormonal changes associated with fatherhood. That was super interesting. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm just thinking the same thing, like what it might be like. You know? I never in a million years would have imagined that I would have kids intentionally.
Right?
But I can look back and I can understand why.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I wasn't able to relate to them at all. Two, because I didn't think I had anything to offer a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And three, because like up until recently didn't feel like I was really capable or competent enough of even taking care of myself, much less a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I think truly it's the feeling like I have something to offer a kid now. Like I feel like I could be a good influence on a child and help them build and develop skills that are gonna allow them to move through the world and be competent. That's why I say I don't think it's a given that. That's why I think it's totally possible to raise a kid that doesn't need to go to therapy. You know, I mean, without oversimplifying it, leading with, showing them. I mean, one of the things that seems obvious to me about children is they learn by watching you, not by listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it really calls upon you as a parent to really set a good example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so setting an example of gratitude and humility,
Mm-hmm.
and resilience, and I mean how how to pass God onto a kid to where they understand why God is important, rather than just saying you need to believe it because that's what we believe, or
Right.
what I believe, or what but helping them understand the foundation of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I feel very confident in my abilities to do that.
Mm-hmm. I think you'd have a lot to teach a kid, to be a role model for a kid.
I think you would as well.
I don't think I've ever said these words to anyone else in my entire life, but I think you'd be a good dad.
Thanks. I think you'd be a good mom.
I think something else that the more I think about it and sit with it, just the intergenerational wisdom, being like, I don't know how people do this without family around.
Yeah.
The saying, it takes a village. The more of my friends that have kids and I see that, I'm
Yeah.
like, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But then that also, for me, comes a little bit of baggage of, there's some folks in my family that I'm like, I don't know. How do you set boundaries around how you want your kids raised and the influence that other people might have on them?
Yeah.
And would that create tension within a family?
Probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just acknowledgement of, I don't even know what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot.
A lot.
Pretty sure there's a lot.
Yeah, to me that seems one of those things that like I feel like it's one of those things that like somehow it's like it gets farther away the closer you get to it. Or yeah, I mean, yeah. Like to me it seems like I feel like I have the sense that anytime I feel myself thinking I know something, I probably should take that, or that I know more than I previously knew, I should take that as an indication that, and now there's also more that I don't know that has been unlocked. Like, I guess you can't unlock things you don't know, because everything that exists that you don't know,
Yeah.
right? Like, obviously.
Sure.
But somehow it seems like the awareness of it makes it bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really like put my finger on that, because it feels like, well, you should, if you're gaining knowledge and you're working towards wisdom, I don't know, there's just something that tells me that every time like a person considers themselves to have reached wisdom or gain wisdom or to be wise, that inherently is like a lack of wisdom somehow.
I mean, you have understanding of humility and the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I think that's it. I mean,
I guess. I mean, yeah, that's it. I know two concepts, and all that's done is make me aware that I'm a complete fool. But I don't know. I don't mind being a fool.
I think I'd rather be a fool than an egotistical know-it-all.
Yeah.
What was the quote the other day that we were looking at? Folks are overconfident in their abilities, are more likely to believe conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
There was some correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what it was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was basically saying, I guess that, I mean, it essentially said conspiracy theorists or people who are into conspiracy theories have a tendency to be overconfident about the way they think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of meta, though, like how to think about the way we think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In yoga and these ancient Eastern philosophies, we talk a lot about what does wisdom actually mean, because something that's really highly lauded, but the distinction that's been made to me that I think rings true, knowledge is kind of the book learning, the theories, the facts, the figures. Wisdom is when that's lived in, that's experienced, that's embodied. You take that away from just information on a page, and this is something you've experienced and applied, you know? Would you say that's your definition of wisdom?
The one definition of wisdom that I saw that I really liked said that wisdom is the ability to apply knowledge to the world.
Yeah.
Which I think is
essentially
the same thing you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think, is also, in a sense, sort of categorized as in psychology as crystallized intelligence.
Oh,
So
I don't know what that means.
You have fluid intelligence and then crystallized intelligence. And fluid intelligence is generally like a young man's game. That's quick thinking and being able to interact, with situations where you don't have the experience, but you can learn it really quickly. You can learn that situation really quickly. Mm-hmm. Your fluid intelligence starts to decline as you get older and your cognitive capacities start to decline. But you gain crystallized intelligence. You don't need as much fluid intelligence because, I've been in this situation before, and I don't even need to know what's going to happen next to tell you what's going to happen 10 steps down the line. I'm already out, And so, that's crystallized intelligence, or I guess you would also call wisdom, it's like, well, I have knowledge of this, and I can apply it to know that this is what's going to come of this, and then so I'm going to make my decisions off of that,
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's another way that our brains try and conserve energy? You know how our brains are kind of always hardwired for efficiency and habitualize as many things, put as many things on the back burner as possible, use as little glucose for the prefrontal cortex to save that for when we need it. Is this one way that the brain would say, all right, I know enough information to kind of know how this goes?
I don't know. I think it could be I don't know if I would say that is specifically the function that the brain's carrying out, but it's certainly a byproduct of the fact that our brain stores so much information.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we develop schemas, which are like blueprints that we can apply to things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if that's an intentional function or if that's just a byproduct of a function.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I have so many questions about neuroscience, just in this idea of evolutionarily our brain has not caught up to our modern lifestyle.
Oh. Well, like such as what?
we look at brain scans and we can say...
That was a good old-fashioned.
It was a good old-fashioned. Someone asking you in your office, your coworker, saying, hey, can I give you some feedback?
Okay.
Lights your brain up the same way as if you're walking down a dark street at night and you hear footsteps behind you. The way that
Does it really?
Yes.
Okay.
The way that your brain perceives threat has not caught up with modern living.
Right.
The example that I hear used a lot is, it's not a saber-toothed tiger crouching in the grass about ready to kill you.
Yeah.
It's just a deadline, or it's just whatever the stressor may be, That our body responds much more intensely than to the actual threat that we have perceived.
What do you think?
What do I think about that?
Yeah.
I think that's why in society we have this really old brain paired with a lack of skill in mindfulness and self-regulation, in breathing. And that leads to so many destructive patterns of reactivity and not being present and lashing out in anger and all of these things.
Yeah.
I think that's an argument to the antidote to our ancient brain, is we also have ancient ways to calm our nervous systems that we get from all of these Eastern traditions, yoga and Zen and all of this, and even more modernly. But
that's interesting. I would almost say, it's tempting to say that those are like ancient ways. Well, no, I guess I was tempted to call those like modern ways of regulation, but those are ancient ways of regulation.
But compared to the saber-toothed tiger, they're modern.
That's fair.
I mean, Ayurveda is 4,000 years old, but we're talking about parts of the brain that are probably 100,000. I'm throwing that number out there. I don't even. Don't quote me on that.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, that feels, in a sense, kind of what we were sort of brainstorming today is like, I mean, when we were in the park and talked, I mentioned this concept of this like crisis of modernity.
Exactly.
And this isn't like revolutionary. This is not like a new idea. Like, there's plenty of people that have put this idea forth that like our society has evolved much faster than we have. And that's certainly true. And so we're sort of, kind of like fish out of water a little bit. And so finding ways to reconnect with those old parts of us that are still very much in there and alive and work. That's kind of like what we're trying to brainstorm with the business, is we're sort of bringing that to the forefront,
OG. Bringing it back.
I do sometimes get a little bit, I have this realization that sometimes reoccurs to me that sort of bums me out, that we're never going to know what it feels like to live as humans were meant to live.
Yeah. I feel that in like a deep place.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like we can't. There's no way to.
There's too much cushion and comfort in modern society.
Well, even that, think about if you said, screw it, I'm just going to go live in the woods and only eat things that I get from the woods, and if I die, I die. Well, you already have an adult body that was raised on modern food and electronics and modern habits and this and that. Like, your body didn't grow like it would have grown in the wild, where the only mode of transportation were your bare feet, and the only things you ate were things from the ground or animals. Like, we're already tainted, and we can't untaint ourselves. It's a bummer.
It is.
Because it's probably, even though that life would have been much more difficult,
there's value in the hardship.
It just would have been an interesting experience. To the only thing is sleeping outside. You don't have an option to cold plunge because you just get cold all the time at night or, during the winter where, depending on where you live, like it's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just so much more connected, but so much more vulnerable. That's true as well. I mean, trade-offs.
I feel like I would welcome the vulnerability. So it's hunting season, and we've been talking about hunting and what that looks like and being responsible for where our meat comes from and what would it actually be like to take an animal's life and all of these things we have to consider. I feel like modern day hunting, some of the problems that I have with it are you get these hunters that want to take an animal's life solely to say, I have a big ego, I killed this thing, I'm bigger and badder and better than, and I'm going to put its face on my wall. But we've eliminated in our modern lives the ability for us to be prey. We were never top of the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's true.
There were saber-toothed tigers, and there were wolves, and there were bears. We've eliminated that threat entirely unless you do things like we do and go run dozens of miles in the woods.
Yeah.
But there's people, I love this. There's so many stories of folks that survive bear attacks. And they say, that's the moment I felt most alive.
Yeah.
I felt most human. That unlocked something in me. And the vast majority of them become wildlife advocates after that. They say, don't blame the bears. The bear was doing what the bear is meant to do.
Yeah.
Protect them. We almost need this as humans, and we've denied ourselves this having to look face to face with our mortality and our fragility, saying we're not the top of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We don't get to go kill all of the wolves in the western United States, then say, oh shit, what did we do? Now we have to reintroduce them because we've fucked up the ecosystem. I mean, there are no big predators left on the East Coast. There's a small subpopulation of mountain lions in Florida, and they're really small and really inbred, and there's a lot of problems. And there are bobcats, but it's so small that they also can't really have a big ecological impact. So, what, am I nerding out on biology too
I'm
hard?
just imagining this kind of half autistic mountain lion.
They have crooked tails
in Florida with
They have crooked tails.
a Trump 2024 hat on.
Because of course it would be in Florida. Of course it would be in Florida. But we have
They have crooked tails?
Yes, they have crooked tails.
Okay.
There's 12 red wolves left in this one wildlife refuge on the coast of North Carolina. And then we wonder why all the other populations need to be managed, because we've taken out nature's defenses, not only of us, but of all the other species. Why we gotta fuck with it? We can't do it better. Why are we playing God when we are not God?
Well, now you get into some biblical discussions there. You could talk about the Tower of Babel. I mean, well, God basically said, my bad on flooding the world the first time, I won't do it again. But in doing that, he left us with the free will to sort of choose our own path. I mean, I don't think that the climate situation is as the climate cult would have you believe, but it is obvious to me that as humans we are inherently destructive. So it to me it looks like, yes, our societies rise and fall like this, but I mean, it totally makes sense to me that we have an end date. It's just
We're going to destroy
our
ourselves.
DNA to destroy ourselves. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe we give rise to the machine world before that happens.
It just feels so inhuman to me. It feels so sterile.
Right, but that's imagining that humans are the pinnacle.
Yeah.
If we're just a step along the way, then it doesn't matter.
But then nothing matters. But then that
argument can be made too.
But then that makes our whole existence devoid of meaning, and that's just too stark for me to look at in the face.
Sure. And that's completely understandable, which is why I think you have to derive your own meaning.
How do you derive your own meaning? Jordan Peterson would say it's in the story.
Right, yeah, narrative. Well, I mean, I guess if you believe in God, then that gives it meaning. If you don't, then I think you have to borrow the Christian value of service and create meaning in creating value for others. But I don't mean value as in starting a marketing company or some shit like that, or selling Cheetos. Like real value that improves people's lives in real meaningful ways. I mean, I really love the analogy of the band that was playing on the Titanic in the movie as the ship was going down, and at some point, they're like, all right, fellas, we should call it. And so they get up and start to go their own separate ways, but like the one violinist or celloist or whatever, like just stays and keeps playing solo. And then all the rest of them just immediately come back and they start playing because they realize, well, in this moment, like there's nothing else to go do. Like, what am I going to go off and do by myself? Like I might as well be here and play music with my friends. Maybe somebody hears it and it helps somebody as this thing sinks, but yeah, there was no meaning there for that other than to just maybe try to make the environment a little bit peaceful for the people around them.
That feels like such a juxtaposition between that and let's bring children into the world and give them a good life and make them productive members of society that help other people. That seems like such a big meaning. That seems like giving life a point.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But to say if that doesn't, if you take it a layer above that, that actually still doesn't matter.
I guess I'm wondering, does it matter if it matters?
Does it matter if it matters? I mean, that's the question. As we just teeter here on the edge of an existential crisis.
I mean, our brains are pretty dumb. And if you tell it matters, then it's going to be like, oh, all right.
It just comes back to the whole question of, like, what's the point? Why are we here? The biggest questions of human existence. Not that I have answers to those, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, what about this? You matter to me.
Is that all that matters? Can that be enough to matter? We say that religion gives us meaning and purpose, but what did we talk about earlier? God is love. Do you need religion to find love?
I don't think so.
Right? Sometimes I wonder if that's the point of this whole thing.
I don't know. I'll be honest, I've let go of all those questions.
Really? Tell me more.
There's no point. They don't matter. They'll just drive you fucking crazy. And you're never going to get an answer to them. So who cares? I would argue that if you're spending your time worrying about that stuff, it's because you don't have anything real going on. Because you're never going to get answers to those questions. They do not matter. I thought that when you sent me that chicken nugget picture, I felt there was something actually profound about that. When I was like, it's just a few lines of code being contemplated by billions of lines of code. I was like, You know,
we gotta give context. We gotta explain the chicken nugget.
You sent me you were bored at work and you were sending me silly pictures, and you sent me a picture of a chicken nugget that looked like, I don't know, what, a T-Rex
chicken.
or something? Oh, a chicken.
It looked like a
Okay.
chicken. So I said something like, the chicken looks like a chicken. This is so the Matrix. Is the chicken aware of itself? Does the chicken know it is chicken? Does the chicken have consciousness?
Right. No, the
And
chicken.
then you...
The chicken nugget just is. It just is what it is, and it's not sitting there contemplating, like worrying itself over what it is or what it isn't.
Mm-hmm. Say what you said about the lines of code again.
Oh, I don't know. I just said it's just a few lines of code being contemplated by billions of lines of code.
Mm-hmm.
What did that mean to you?
Gosh, how do you even encapsulate that? That we're part of something bigger than us that, yeah, doesn't make us so important. We're all just lines of code in some program. That makes it all not matter. And sure, maybe we have more intellect or consciousness or more something than a chicken, but at the end of the day, we're still just lines of code in different magnitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's adjacent to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
I mean, I guess, yeah, basically that. Like, obviously, like, it's just the chicken just being a few lines of code because it's just an inanimate, piece of fried chicken. And you, this sentient being that has the ability to think about your thoughts, is wondering if this inanimate piece of fried chicken is self-aware. And so I was just saying, like, that is just a widget being contemplated by an advanced program. What are we doing with ourselves? And no, it felt profound to me because I was like, yeah, we just sit around navel gazing, contemplating our own existence so much when we could just get on with living our existence.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I love to contemplate.
Oh, absolutely.
But my contemplation has brought me to that place of, like, we contemplate
That's enough
too much.
contemplation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've used contemplation as an excuse not to create,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's, I don't know.
Action, living, doing, being. That's all we can do.
Yeah. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're beings here. And here we are being. I don't know if there's really any need to sit around spending all of our energy trying to figure out why. Like we're talking about pure nonsense.
It's fun though. Chicken nugget. Have I sent you videos of the woman who has this horse? Chicken nugget.
I don't know.
But
maybe.
when she's in trouble, she yells at her, "Chicken Elizabeth Nugget!"
Oh, yeah, I remember. I do remember that. The middle name. Chicken Elizabeth Nugget. Oh my god. I'm tired.
Should we just call it?
We could.
Or do we want to try and be profound and significant and add value to the world in this meaningless void of an
Have to
existence?
be profound.
What made you ask about kids?
I don't know. It's been on my mind lately. And we're talking about future things, and I don't know, I mean, I guess like, you know, when we started being together again, like it's not like we specifically talked about expectations or stuff, but we had so many conversations, you know, in the in between that I knew, well, like, you know, like she knows, you know, so, you know, that's the thing that's on my mind. So I don't know. Just figured I'd ask. A boy and a girl could be cool. I don't know. It just seems. It still seems just like a pipe dream. Or like I'm trying to live a life that was never like meant for me. I never thought I'd have kids.
You never thought you'd be in grad school.
Sure.
You never thought you'd be reading the Bible.
Very true. Very true. It's crazy, man. How things can change. It makes me wonder if like we ever get to know ourselves.
I think that's the biggest work of our lives, for sure.
I mean, I even think about like, you know, the moment of death. You know who you've been, you know who you are then, but I guess it's just the fact that we can constantly change and evolve. And really the only limit is the time we get here to do it. So even when you die, like whoever you are then, it's still just who you are then. Like if you were going to live longer, you'd still have evolutions. And what are you getting to know, really? A collection of experiences?
Yeah. It's the question from the other day. What does it mean? What's an identity?
Yeah. Yeah. I really love how Jordan Peterson refers to individuals as a community over time.
I don't think I've heard him say that. Can you say more?
Do you have water over here?
I don't.
Water. Yeah, he refers to individuals, like you specifically, you as an individual, in the ways that you will evolve and change as a person. You are a community of different people, spanning time.
Yeah. I think I'd say it differently, that there's still some underlying thread, some connective piece. But
And so
yeah.
it should be in a healthy community. A culture, maybe.
Then what is a culture?
Values?
Shared values?
Shared values?
Maybe? If you're going by that definition, then can you even say that our country has a culture?
Well, 50 minutes in, 10:40 at night, you want to prompt me with that?
Fair.
I mean, yeah, we're in the midst of a culture war. I mean, we are in a fight for the culture of our country, absolutely. You know what I think would be interesting and annoy a lot of people, and so I want to do it?
What?
Well, you know how we've sort of had this conversation about how
a lot of like modern sort of woo-woo spiritual values that people who are very atheist or agnostic that they believe, generally all of them are values borrowed from Christianity. They just don't know that. So I think it would be funny to like go through Instagram or have an Instagram or do like a section of the podcast or something like that where we take like spiritual quotes from the love and light community and then find like the verse in the Bible that is basically borrowed from. I also thought it would be hilarious to do. Okay, so I want to set the stage. Did you ever watch the Chappelle Show?
Not enough to have any sort of.
But you know who Dave Chappelle is.
Yes.
So the funniest, in my opinion, by far skit that he did was this one where the basis was he was a blind black white supremacist. So he didn't know he's black. He's blind. And he was a white supremacist. Absolutely hilarious. I was thinking it would be funny to formulate a character and to do skits where the person thinks they're woke, but all their values are very like based values. What was the example I came up with the other day that I thought would just be funny as hell? I can't think of it specifically right now, but basically the concept would be, it'd be like, man, I really wish I could think of the specific example. It was perfect. I mean, it was basically something about as far as like, equity, inclusivity, all that stuff. And it was like, this guy would be like, I can't think of it. Now I want to cut this part out of the podcast. I'm not gonna, but anyways, he would basically just be a walking contradiction where he would espouse all of like the talking points of the sort of like woke community, but then his like retort to all of it would be like his values actually would be like very based. So I don't know, it was some example where it was like, it's like, oh, it's like bullshit. All these like conservatives like don't want to let people like express themselves or do like have other people's or like have other values or views, but I guess at the same time when we like force them to use our pronouns, we're kind of like we're not respecting their values. It's like he would just like he would be like unintentionally actually smart and discerning,
Yeah.
but he would still be like, oh, they're just a bunch of piece of shit bigots, but I guess like at the same time, he just wouldn't realize, I feel like that would be really funny. But yeah, no, I was thinking like if we were to do the like, love and light quote type shit, just go through it very spiritual, very soft, really suck in the woo-woo community, and then right at the last minute, anyways, that reminds me of this verse in the Bible. I was like, oh, no, oh. It's like people backing out of there.
Yep.
It'd be hilarious. Yeah, I think most of the spiritual community would be shocked to know that the vast majority of their values are borrowed from Christian values, from Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
You ready to go to bed?
Yeah.
You're just like,
Nothing important to say anymore.
Okay.